back. I'm Claire Cousins, and this video is all about me finishing off this little beautiful wrap, bobbin wrap. The bobbin my daughter designs, and she makes these, and if you're interested you'll find a link below as where you can order one for yourself. Anyway, I hope you enjoy seeing how I finish this off. If you haven't seen all the other videos, there are 4 other videos, starting with mark making on fabric, and then the rest is how I embellished it. It's not all covered in all the videos, unfortunately, but at least you'll get an idea of how I at least started, and you'll get to see the whole finished one by the end of the video. Anyway, it's great to see you. Enjoy. This is the detail of the bobbin so far, and you can see that I've done some Let the Daisies Grow embroidery. It's a sort of an ombre effect, and you get that by using 2 strands of the dark, and then you use 1 dark, and then you change it to with the red, and then you do it the 2 red, and then you go from the red with a lighter red, and you just keep. So the way you do it is you say you have 2 strands, and as you go from one letter to the next letter, your 2 strands will change colour, and that's how you can do that. And you can see there, got some daisies growing, and then I've added some texture here, doing some bullion knots. It was just dashes of colour underneath, so I've just added the texture with my bullions, and then there were some squiggly circles here, so I've put some applique dots in there. And then moving on, I've done a running stitch, and then I've used the thicker thread to sort of weave in and out, so I've woven in and out there. We've got some rice stitch or seed stitch. I've got some layers of different types of organzas with some beading. Some more sort of applique, and then there's the net overlaid, so I've used the darker applique and then used the net and done like a slashed effect. So there's the transition is smoother there, and then we've got another transition going on here, so we've got some circles with organzas to begin with, and then some thicker fabrics. And then here I've actually stitched around. It was painted, I think that was done with a lid. I printed some lid marks, and then I've stitched around them. Here I've done some knots, French knots, some daisy chain, some zigzag daisy chain, some fly stitch, running stitch. This is the transition point, so I've managed to incorporate the blue each side. I've done some applique. They were actually hexagons, but you can't tell now because I've overstitched them with like it's straight stitch and then a French knot on the end. Pistol stitch, I think some people call it. These I've actually done like a buttonhole stitch around like a little plastic washer. My daughter makes these little tiny plastic washers, and I've buttonhole stitched those. Got some sequins and some textures. All of these you can, and I say all of them, some of them, especially this particular part, you can see me actually making it in a previous video, so it is worth checking back on any of the bobbin wrap videos. These ones I didn't buttonhole, I just wrapped, so they've got a different look, got more of a donut look about them. Here there were some painted squares, and so I've sort of done my own stitch over them. Here I've got the painted squares, and then I've seed stitched with some silver in there. Added some type of knitting yarn, couch, some thick threads on, added some sequins, scattered some of the actual ribbon, put some more sequins on over some of that sort of florist's, I don't know what it's called, like a florist's net stuff. here, this was like quite unusual. Where I'd printed it, I'd used a stencil. It was almost like random hexagons. And so what I've done is just stitched to enhance the lines. Here, it's another stencil. It was like a split stencil, so what I've done is I've put sequins through the centre. And then here you'll see, now I've got some pins, because this is now to show you I'm finishing off the end. Here's the end. And that's where the spool will go in. So let me just show you, here's the spool. So the spool's going to go in the end like that. It's going to get stitched on, and then the other end will get glued on like that. So this was all, as you can see, was all raw edge. So I've actually folded the end round, and you'll see that on the back is what I originally started off with, which is all my fun printing that I did. So I've got stenciling, I've got fabric paints, it's all the mark making. Again, if you look back at the very first video, it's called Mark Making on Fabric. And this is some of the squiggly circles, this is some of the blobby dots. And you will see that these fabrics, and I thought it was nice to have the back side unstitched, because it just shows you that I've gone from this sort of thing, with this sort of area here I'd have net covering it, you know, so I've gone from a very plain, well not plain, because there's marks there, it's the mark making fabric, so I've gone from something like that to what's on the other side, like that. So I hope you can see that that's why I've done it. So I've done it so that the back reflects what was there. And what I've done is I've just used a very nice, if I show you again a bit closer, you can see I've used a blanket stitch, and the blanket stitch will change from purple into blue, and then blue into orange, and it all just sort of allows a coherency. So, and I've just used a pearl cotton for that. You can see how that's looking. Right, so I've left that last little bit to show you, because I thought, well, I'll finish that off, and I thought, oh no, I'll video it, because sometimes people like to see how things are finished off. So I've just finished off one colour piece. I'm just run out of thread, so I'm going to tuck that bit in like that. I'm going to get my purlay. Now this is an anchor, what is it? I think it's a number 8. It's a number 8 variegated anchor. Now what I do is I work out what I want to do. So I can just zoom out a little bit. So if that's the section I want to do in the blue, I measure it 1, 2, 3 for blanket stitch. If you can hear a noise, that's my dishwasher running, so I apologise. Now wherever I've finished on the back here, I'm going to tuck that right in, and I've put a knot in the end, and I'm going in from the inside, and I'm going to try and come up so I'm poking that in on the inside, and then with the needle I'm just going to try and poke in from underneath in between the two layers, so I can't see the knot hopefully. Then I'm going to carry on to my blanket stitch. So I'll go into the fabric a little ways, come up, make sure my thread's underneath, and pull up. You may hear that I've got a bit of a croaky voice. I've had a bad cold, or perhaps even COVID last week, and it's left me a bit chesty. So I apologise if I sound croaky. And you can see, and I'm going to just work my way along there like that. Try to keep it as even as possible. Every now and again I'll just check the back. And I can take the pins out as I go. So I'm going to keep going, and then I can show you how I finish up. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get to show you all the whole reel done, because a lot of it I actually did on holiday, so I didn't take my camera with me, and to be honest with you, sometimes it's quite nice to have something to sit and quietly do, but at least you can see where I've got up to and how it's going to look when it's finished. Back in a bit. Right, I've finished all the blanket stitch up to a point, and I've left the end hole, so I can now feed the bobbin in. What I will need to do is put a little bit of like a U8, it's Yoo-hoo glue or clear glue, it's basically a contact adhesive, and I can stick that on, and I can wind this up. I'll take that off for now though, because it's easier to wind it with it off. You can, oh, hang on, I've got some threads to trim off. And I can slowly wind that on. Actually, what's nice about winding like this is you can actually see beautiful colours, the blanket stitch on the edge. It's almost a shame to put the other end on. You can see how that's getting wound on. I'll go and get a measuring tape and I'll measure it for those of you who want to know. Now, people might say to me, well, what's it for? Why have you made it? Well, it's purely for me to enjoy, to look at. It's like a piece, it's like an art pad in a roll. So I could put it on my coffee table, I can just put it in my workroom. It's also, I can use it as a mark making reference, a stitch making reference, design and colour reference. So it's got lots of uses. I mean, purely as a piece of artwork. I mean, initially it was a meditative piece for me to, as I'm stitching, is to just have something in my hands to enjoy and be able to take something on a holiday that's not too big. You know, have a little pack of threads and a few bits of fabric and some pins and needles and some sequins, and all of that fitted into a little basket that I could take with me on holiday. So it was like a little meditative sewing kit, and you can see that once that's on there, that beautiful. I can then put a little bit of contact glue. Obviously be careful because you don't want to be gluing your fabric on it, but that would just go on there like that, and then you can see that it fits perfectly. So I'm going to measure that now, and I'm going to let you know how big that is. Right, so I've got my tape measure out. Those of you who work in inches, it is, what is that? Just over 1.5 inches, not quite 1 3/4 inches. Those of you who work in centimetres, it's 4.5 centimetres. And then its length, let me just see how long it is. I've got to unwind it, unfortunately, to find its length. Its length is, oh, that's 50 inches to that point. And I've actually run out of tape. Oh no, hang on, I'm still going. I've got 60. So it's 60 inches to this point. So 60, hang on, look at my 60, looks to be about 65 inches. So that in centimetres is 165 centimetres. So I hope you've enjoyed the process. I'm just going to lay this out for a thumbnail now. So thank you for joining me. Take care. Bye bye for now. And I look forward to catching up with you again soon.